3 billion human lives ended on August 29th, 1997. The survivors of the nuclear fire called the war Judgment Day. They lived to face a new nightmare, the war against the machines. Know this quote? Back on July 3rd, 1991, James Cameron released The Terminator 2 starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Today, we're talking all about AI. Let's get into it. Welcome to What the RFI. I'm Matt Brennan, and this is the podcast all about construction administration. When I was a kid, I was introduced into the Terminator series. It was fascinating. The big guns, the concept that machines would rule the world one day. Very cool. Loved it. All my friends were watching. I wasn't doing it. And very intriguing. I've been a fan of the whole series. And I think going back to the original, the first one and definitely the second one, I think that was the moment. And just the special effects at the time and the concepts, it was incredible. And with Terminator 2, I found it started off with a scene that was very powerful, kind of kids playing and just we see this apocalypse, something happens. And then, we're in LA dating 2029. Well, by the way, that's 4 years from now. Is trend setting it? Are we getting to that point? I don't think so, but it is scary. Absolutely. And in that scene, the world's on fire, and then basically it's a fight between man and machine, okay? And hence the Terminator realm. Okay? So let's get into a brief history of AI. What is AI? And don't worry, this is the good part. So when and how AI was created, it was originally originated in the 1950s with Alan Turing's early theories of it. He explored it, he was talking about it, and just how artificial intelligence would kind of lead one day in the big grand scheme of things. Again, think about it, 1950. What was going on at the time? We're still early option. We passed World War II, and that, so machinery was there, but it was becoming more relevant, right? So that's very interesting that already the mindset was there. We didn't have the technology to kind of push it to that end, but the thought and the process and the theories were there. So then the rise of machine learning started to really establish between 1980 and the 2010s. And hence, why Terminator series was born, probably because of what was happening around in the real world. We're hearing about, all these, production plants using computers. The IBI 486. Yes, that's one of my first computers when I was a kid. Christmas Day, we opened up and we got an IBI 486 processor. Oh my goodness, what did it mean? This thing's jam-packed with a megabyte of memory or whatever. It's crazy how life came. And even kind of fast forwarding, there was kind of one of those memes, pictures going around the internet where it was this massive, huge computer. Like this thing was like the size of a sea can, and it was going into an airplane. And basically the quote was saying, the power of this computer is inside your iPhone. And this is when the iPhone like 7, 8 was around. So look how far we advanced from that computer technology to what's in your pocket, okay? The boom of generated AI, ChatGPT launched November 22nd. OpenAI followed it by tools like Cloud, Gemini, and so on. And this is where things really took off. This is when people thought, oh, AI is new. It's here. It's been out for a while. But this is where it became more of a consumer thing. It was available to anyone who wanted to try this out. And I did try it out. I tried out ChatGPT, and wow, like it blew my mind. Like being in that moment, and that was a milestone moment in my own life, and I'm sure it was yours when you first tried it out. Just incredible. We had to create a site safety requirement document for the city, something we never did in the firm before. And we put in a parameters, create this, put this. We put the city, the address, and everything, and right in front of our eyes, this thing was filling it out, and it was really good. We went in and made some tweaks afterwards. But it worked. And it was just incredible, this tool that we're getting, this machine learning tool. Okay. So, and as we kind of go deeper into this podcast episode all about AI, if this is your first time in hearing what AI is, where have you been? Come on, where have you been? and maybe perhaps use AI to learn what AI is. Okay. So hopefully through this, we're going to cover a lot of things and bring you to a new level where AI is and where it's going. Okay. So has AI evolved and reached the AEC industry, the architectural industry, the construction industry? Simple answer is yes. From what? From BIM to real-time design assistance, from automation insights, generations. We got a lot to cover, and let's get into it. So AI in architecture today, real tools, real use, real scenarios. So let's just kind of start with the basic in your general office environment. So right off the get-go, every day I use a tool called Grammarly. It's great. Grammarly, basically, it's autocorrect, but using AI. And it does suggestions. It helps you out. Be careful with any of these things that we're talking about, because the more that you do this, don't crutch on it. Don't lean on it. You're going to hear the common theme from myself saying it's a tool. We want to basically use it as a tool, not letting us rely on it. If we lose AI today, can you still do your job going backwards? And you should be able to, right? And that's it. Okay. So Grammarly, great tool, proofreads everything, gives me suggestions. Hey, you may want to sound more confident. Maybe you want to sound more personal. You're being really rigid with this, Matt. Okay, go for it, right? Another one, Fathom. There's a ton of these tools out there, but Fathom is an AI note taker for Zoom calls, Google Meets, Teams, you name it. It records it and then basically it puts a nice clean summary. But the best part about it, I can go into it afterwards and be like, who was in the meeting, and type the question. And it's going to tell me exactly who jumped in, maybe if they were late in the call, or, what is their thoughts? Do you think they're going to proceed with the sale of this, or the concepts that we're going with? It's a great tool just to get it. And it records it, and you can always go back, especially when you're going back to that client, coming back 3 months later, going, oh shoot, what do we talk about before summer hit or something like that? You can go through and just kind of review it high level, search what the key things that you want to find. Very, very powerful on its thing. So kind of taking us into like general tools. Of course, the big one that we've already established is Chat GPT, right? Claude Copilot, right? These are fantastic. Chat GPT, the fact that, and I think it just came out with another release. It just keeps getting better and better, and it's scary. And we'll talk about the imagery in a second, but reading PDFs and documents, analyzing even the contracts and specs, you can run it through the system, summarize, all these notes. Tell me what this is. Here's a whole book. Tell me what it is in point form. Give me a timeline. It's crazy. And it's crazy how fast it does the job, right? And when we get into images, the fact that, you can, hey, create an image that looks like this with this and this style, and, so on, or upload your own image. One of the things I've been playing with is I've uploaded a guest speaker session and said, hey, tell us a joke, and here's the show notes, and here's everything, and here's all the information you need. Make me a comic script. Oh my goodness, it does it. It is incredible, and it's hilarious, and it's like, never my wildest dreams I would imagine that I would just put an input in, and then seconds it would put it out. This is totally raw stuff. This is something that is not even on the internet now, and it's doing to compose this and make this image. That's incredible. That's scary. Right? So what else can it do? Well, we'll keep getting into it. Okay. But yeah, and just the fact that it can remember your tailored responses and for future. So like when I'm using my ChatGPT every day, it knows what I'm typically talking about. It really does. It knows my goals, my ambitions, and where I'm in my stage in life. Again, really scary, but at the same time, really powerful, because I've basically been training an assistant, and we're going to use that word assistant quite a bit here, that they're going through this aspect. They're learning the way I like to write. They're learning how I want to do it, and they're helping me kind of prove it. But I'm still the director here. Let's make that very clear. I'm still driving this. So let's get into Revit and some design tools. Where is AI in that function? Well, TestFit. This is a generative site and massing tool where you can basically put your information in. It's going to do some quick studies. It's going to do shadow studies. It's going to do that. It definitely an interesting tool. I haven't used it, but I've done, I've watched a few YouTube videos on it, and very, very interesting, very powerful how we can, basically do that quick massing study, that space planning scenario, and work with it. Hypar. That's a tool for Revit. It designs automation for repeatable logical workflows. So, for example, you're doing an office layout, you've done your general bubble plan, space planning. You know where people are. You got the general square footage. We used to do that in area plans in Revit, right? And it would do it and kind of that idea. We know where everything's are. Once you got that area plan done, then you'd go into Revit and you start inputting all the, drawing the walls. Well, HighPart will just drop it in. This is an office. This is open office. Immediately, you've got all your desks, your chair, your cubicles, whatever. Very powerful. Again, look at it as an assistant, as helping you kind of get started, but then you're going to start really thinking about the design and start playing with it. And that's where you're going to kind of take it to the next level and cure that. But you've saved a huge amount of time that you can do, a junior can do, anything like that. Delve by Sidekick Labs. This is an AI-powered tool for urban design. And what I mean by that is you input the unit, square footage, everything, your property, and immediately you can see what type of high-rises you're going to get in this, how many stories you want, play with different layouts. We've seen this with our other tools for parking lots, right? Oh, I've got this lot. What's the best configuration for our parking lot? And you can play with it, change numbers, move, say we're going to go 90 degrees, maybe we're going to go 45 stalls. And the thing is radically moving this right in front of you in real time. It gives you a sense of what things are. Amazing tools. Cut back again, that allows you to put a little bit more time back into where, refining this and making it right and spending the time and looking at the user point of view. But again, you're drastically drawing this stuff versus you drawing it, then going, no, it doesn't work. I'm doing it in record speed of just clicking it and showing it. Swap AI, auto-generated for early stage of design documentation. So again, hey, I like to tag my doors clockwise or counterclockwise, right? And you can play with some of that, clean up your dimensions. It's another tool to try. I haven't personally. If you have, I'd love to hear what your experience is. But again, it's one that's definitely coming up on the books and showing up. Hey, you should be considering trying out Swap. Okay. And then, of course, if you're really into programming, I know there's some of you listen that do play Revit in a very deep end. There's Revit and the Dynamo and the AI plugins. That's crazy. Dynamo alone isn't a powerful program if you can program it. Now you're going to AI to help you program it. Like programmers and developers love AI because they run their code. It codes so much quicker. And then they can spend time just kind of going through and cleaning it up and start training it to do the right way because code is constantly changing and it's a great, fantastic way. So that kind of leads us into the next step with when we're doing this documentation side is rendering it, right? And rendering is kind of where everyone kicked off in the architectural world when AI came about. So the first one we always heard about was Midjourney, right? The Discord channel. You go in there, the image generation tool, put it in, looking for futuristic scene, curve, artistic look, hand sketch, whatever, be immediately getting that results back to you in real time and getting the absolutely incredible things. Like something that would have taken you days in Photoshop is now taking you minutes. Scary? Yes. Cool. Absolutely. Mind blown. You've got it. Check that one. Okay. But it's great for schematic designs. It really is, to basically take some of this Revit massing, load in even a hand sketch, okay? A hand sketch, and get AI to generate some of this. Basically, Google's new, was it Vivo? It just, I've been watching its updates, and on LinkedIn, someone just did a simple napkin sketch, literally just loose lines, someone riding a bike, and they put it into the software. And oh my goodness, they made a movie of this person riding the bike, going down the city, and very quick. It took, definitely took a few hours. You couldn't do this 20 minutes before the client came up, but it's going to that point where you can start doing that. I didn't prepare anything. Here, I do this. Oh, by the way, we did a rendering of this. What do you think of this general hand sketch? But again, you're the one that created this. So I want you to kind of don't think it's crippling the tool again. You're the one that's driving it, right? And just keep driving it. Same thing again, going back, taking a couple of steps back, and you did ChatGPT and said, hey, write me a script for a show about AI, right? At that point, it's going to give you something. Doesn't mean you have to use it. Go ahead, start telling, well, that's good, but I want to hear more about this, or I want to hear about this, right? Start doing it because you're the author. You're the director of this, okay? Another one is Arco AI. Again, it's an AI rendering tool based in SketchUp, Revit, Rhino. Again, you've got that model. Rather than going into Lumion, which is a fantastic product, you're basically saying, hey, create a rendering off of this. So it's going to create the rendering, it's going to put all the materials on. But now again, hey, make an exotic garden around, maybe place this in Florida, place this in Arizona, Las Vegas, whatever. And it's going to give you all that surroundings to it. And I think that's, again, for just kind of getting some ideas, getting the conversation started with your clients, that's a very powerful tool. Okay. And these are just some of, there's so many of them out there. And again, you guys are probably dabbling in them, but these are the most common ones that's working and doing really well. Estimating tools in AI. What do we have? Well, there is one called toggle.ai. And what Toggle does is it takes the PDFs, and I've seen some live demonstrations with this. Is very powerful, very cool. If you're a subtrade doing estimates and you're kind of getting receiving the actual drawings from the architect, or better yet, you're a QS pricing out a job for the architect, you could run this right away, get your quantities of your windows based off the window schedules, everything, double checking your areas. Very powerful, but get real-time data just from simple PDFs. Remember, the PDFs are what we're doing as far as the contract documents go. This is how we do it. And that's a great tool. Like I said, if you're estimating, I don't see architects really necessarily doing this. We're already using the Revit. We already got our areas and everything. But for someone that is not a Revit user, that has to do some kind of estimating or pricing or like I said, a sub-trade, general, hands down, I think that's a great, fantastic tool. And again, it's just going to allow them the tedious task of measuring that room. They're going to be able to actually put it on to chasing consultants or chasing like their other sub trades, just allowing you to kind of allocate your time to a better resource of what it needs to be. So, construction administration, where are we seeing AI as of right now? Okay. More probably for the contractor side, but again, as an architect, you want to explore this. That's where we got Open Space. Now, Open Space actually bought a company by the name of Drone to Play as well. I personally used Drone to Play. It was great. And again, this is where AI, I guess, was kind of there, was programming. But Drone to Play originally started with you would take your drone, you would go run it on a path, go to site the next time, run it again and again and again. Or, hey, we're going to do a massive cut and fill exercise. So I drone the site before we get the cut. And then afterwards, they do the cut, we'd re-drone it, and then they would fill it, and then we'd drone it again. And at that point, they say, oh, we took out X amount of trucks. Well, the software is going to tell me exactly how many cubic meters, cubic feet. That was the difference kind of before and after and everything. And that was incredible. And that's where, this Open Space bought it out. And Open Space basically creates a virtual job site, taking that whole that terminology, that the science that they did for drone deploy in terms of these kind of fills. It's the same thing. And basically someone walks around with a hard hat on, of course, with a camera. And they just walk the site, each room. And as they're doing it, these 360 cameras that are just capturing all these views is they're generating and putting inside of this live building construction plan. Okay. So the very powerful, and this goes into some talks I've done in the past about facility management. It's like, hey, what's behind that wall? I don't know. This is where you can go back in time and go, there's no way we're going to be blowing that wall out to do an addition or going into the next room. It's totally full of beams. It's full of wiring and data, etc. You just can't do that. It's nice to know behind there. Even simple, I'm going to hang up a picture frame and I drill in there. I wouldn't recommend it. This is the cool thing that you can do with that application. And you can almost kind of do a virtual field review because you've just got someone just walking the site and you go and pick out areas. I still recommend you going to site, and communication is key. You're not going to get that with the applications at the end of the day because we're still humans and that's our human interaction. But again, a tool to consider, either definitely from the GC side, owner side perhaps, and maybe the architect. Maybe you kind of find that medium ground where you want to do it. Maybe you split the cost 3 ways. And you've heard me say it on the show, but of course, part 3, we're using AI to review the shop drawing process. Very cool. Upload your specifications to the application. A shop drawing comes in from the general contractor and immediately it reviews if it's an alternate or not. And why this is valuable is sometimes we spent weeks on a shop drawing because we just haven't had time to get to it. And then the moment we finally get that moment, we're like, oh, shoot, it's an alternate. I could have given that back to the GC. I could have given that 2 extra weeks of time to go chase the right product. And even GCs are seeing the value of this as they go through it. And I think that's one thing that's just incredible. And if you approve the alternate, does it meet, is it actually a real alternate? And that's one thing I think that's really powerful is it goes to the testing. And actually the nice thing about as you're selecting these notes, these comments, you can go right into the specs like, hey, where do I call up Starline Windows? You click it, it'll zoom right into the specs, highlight it, bold it, saying this is where you call in the specs. Oh, because you can review the specs and the shop drawings side by side. And I think that's, this is going to cut down the review time. It's doing a checklist because it even checks the warranty too. And why that even is valuable is it's just, you don't want to miss this. You don't want these windows showing up to site when you specified black windows and white ones showed up on site. You're going to have such a tough time. You're going to have an argument and a half on site, even though specs rule and all that. It doesn't matter. You're not going to win. So this is a peer review. It's doing a check set for you. And it's just speeding up that process. And keep in mind, as we're talking all these things, like this is mentorship too on some things. Like rather than you trying the old days where you help someone and mentor them, which you should be doing in a sense, but now you can say, hey, you try the review. I want you to look at some of these things. Start thinking about this stuff. And maybe it wasn't clear. Maybe the AI didn't pick up. It's going to make mistakes. But at least it's forcing you to check that stuff. Checklists are a fantastic tool. And that's what this is doing with just another huge layer and level on top of it. Okay. The other one that I've seen with part 3 where it changes the game is rather than saying, contractor, can you give me a shop drawing schedule, which I'm not going to get, you can basically at that point upload your specs and it creates your full shop drawing schedule for you. Creates everything you need. I need bleachers. I need basketball hoops. I need concrete mix design. I need these steel members. I need this millwork shop drawing, etc. And this is where this becomes really powerful and really excites me is it's changing the way that the architects can run their day-to-day site meetings. So you're not in that site meeting 6 months, 9 months down the road, and you're like, what are we missing? And I've been in this moment too, where I've sat there and go, what are we missing as far as shop drawings goes? Oh my goodness, we're missing the bleacher shop drawings. The school's going to open up in 3 months. And yet these bleachers are a 9-month lead time. You're screwed. Partial occupancy. You can do it, but it's inconvenient. You just want it. And two, for your time, it's just another site review. You got to spend more time, things you got to chase. Let's be proactive. Let's use AI to create a physical shop drawing schedule for the contractor. Now, when you get in there, you can even identify the hot lead items, what I need to look at. And I don't want to look at it in 6 months. I want to look at it today. When we were building, we had a massive 6 different daycares. And the big problem was during, the supply chains, a few years later after COVID, and distribution panels weren't a typical 3-month. They were almost a 12-month lead time. It was ridiculous. And because there was only so limited manufacturers in the field, we had no choice. We were at the mercy at them. So the first thing that I said before even the first site meeting kicked off is, contractor, I need these shop drawings now. I needed them, the moment you put your bid in this project, really, to get this in. Because the reality is we wouldn't give anyone substantial if we couldn't energize the building to go on commissioning and trying everything. We had one contractor try that. He didn't get his shop drawings in time. His distribution panels came way late in the game. They wanted to pay their subs. They wanted to go for substantial, but we said, you can't, because we can't even check anything. We can't even energize. We can't do the commissioning, etc. Life safety. It just didn't work. So by you being proactive and not letting the GC run it, and as you as the architect running it, you're taking control of the project. And I think that's so very cool. Okay. So what else is going to come to CA? Right? And these are some ideas. I'm just throwing this out here, right? What can we expect? There's a lot of design tools, but we're still lacking in terms of the construction administration side. So what I would like to see when it comes to AI and CA is, again, the submittal review process, which we've got, and we've talked about that, but start checking against not only specs, but drawings. Okay. And I think we're going to get there. We got AI starting to learn stuff and look at that, because we know when it comes to your specifications, for example, you're going to know Target flooring, but the colors are going to be in the finish schedule. Door hardware is going to be in the specs, but the door number and quantity will be partly on your drawing on the door schedule. So we need that cross between the two. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if this comes in the next kind of year or so. We'll see. Don't hold your breath. But at the end of the day, we're seeing a huge ramp up when it comes to these tools. So I give it time, and we'll get there. Okay, automatic spec review and RFIs. This could involve really bit better too. Like basically, an RFI comes in, and AI goes, "I think it's this." That's something I would like to see. It should, hey, this is noted on drawing such and such, right? This is called up in spec section here, here, here. And of course, it's a tool. It's going to prompt it. Then you take control and go, you're out to lunch, AI. Or you're absolutely right. I didn't even think about checking that page too in the drawings or in the specs. I didn't even think about under the general conditions. We already called this up and here and here and here. That's where I see AI helping you from the construction administration side, which is, again, very exciting, a little nervous, but very cool. Okay. Predictive issue tracking based on previous projects. How cool would it be before you go out for tender, upload your drawings, your specs and everything, and it starts going, it acts as like a GC AI. Maybe I should register the domain right now, but it takes it and it goes through and it kind of challenges you. You're missing this. You got incorrect wall ID tags. You got incorrect titles. There is no room 201. Why did you name it that? That would be really powerful. Like, again, that's why we have drawing checklists. That's why we got humans. But I bet you could use AI and just flesh out all the crap right at the beginning. And then you print off a set. And now you're looking at a really decent set, right? You've already gone through it. Your junior techs have basically taken the AI approach. And that's it. So that kind of ties into design, but it does come into the construction administration because we don't want to be burned with this stuff. Or maybe you didn't dimension an area. That would be kind of cool too, right? So, and the last one I would say is AI assisted field report generation, site imaging tagging, right? So again, already we've got our field review tools. There's tons. There's RC Snapper. Part 3 does a fantastic tool of the site review. You can even upload a plan, tag it and stuff like that, but it is still a manual process. How cool if you were on that site and pulled up your iPad and went snap and already took you on the plan and went boom, done. How cool would that be? That would be ideal where I would like to see it. So just for some thoughts, you heard it first on what the RFI here, if these ideas, they come from here, then, hey, I want a little bit of credit for it, okay? But like I said, I'm very excited with where we can see this AI help out when it comes to construction administration. There's just a lot of opportunity to just help us do better in that. And big question for you, how can you start using AI without being a tech bro, right? How can you use it you have no experience with this? We have to struggle to just open up your computer sometimes. Okay, let's just be honest, right? Where do you stand in this tech world? Are you having arguments with Siri and Alexa, right? Are they arguing with you? How can we start using AI? So my encouragement is you don't even need to download anything. Just go to, start off with ChatGPT. Try the basics tasks, meeting minutes, draft the specs, whatever. I use ChatGPT for so many things. And, I'll get into kind of where I use it in a moment here, but some of the things we do if we're looking at the fridge and go, what can we make tonight? Well, I have carrots, I got broccoli, I got mushrooms, and I got this, and I got milk. And I do have some little bit of sour cream. Put that in those ingredients, AI, and say, what can I make? And it'll give you like 10 different recipes. And at that point, you can say, I want to make the cream of broccoli, recipe. And it'll spit out a recipe right there. I'm finding rather than going to Google and saying, hey, Google, how do you make this? I'm going off to Paris, France next week. Rather than saying, where should I stay? And I'm just getting a whole bunch of miscellaneous garbage and ads and everything. I'm just going to ChatGPT and asking, hey, you should stay in the North Quadrant. This is what all the things coming from it. What do you think? Do you want an itinerary? Yes. Tell me about more places. And it just it's a conversation we're having. And I think that's the cool thing versus a search engine. And you've started to see Google realize this, like, the people behind the amazing software, what it is, they're incorporating their AI that they're doing this as you type up what you're wanting to do, what the question you're asking the AI. Immediately, it's giving you an AI answer to start with now because they realize it's a more defined thing. Again, is it right? We're going to dive into that in a second. Okay. But start with that. I think start with ChatGPT, have a little bit of fun, try it out, and then, start exploring all the other tech that we just talked about previously. Okay. Yeah, use an AI assistant to summarize RFIs, change orders. You basically put that a list, right? Summarizing is a good thing. Again, the nice thing, and this is built, if you're on a MacBook or you're an iPhone, you can do that. You can select a whole area and say, please summarize this whole entire email into 3 points. Bang, 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 bang. Lots of time I do speaker engagements, same thing. Oh, your bio has to be 50 characters. Oh, it can be 150 characters now. Oh, it has to be this, right? It's very challenging at times. So I'll, and I've got multiple versions now, right? That's how we did before. But, I would have a nice version. I'd say, hey, I need to make this exactly 125 characters, do it. And it'll do it. And yes, I'll go through it and review it. But pretty cool how it is. Okay. But yeah, and of course, get familiar with your existing software you're using already, Revit, etc. There's lots of AI. There's lots of apps out there. You already know it. How can you use it better? Just start looking into it. Maybe use AI to find it, right? You never know. Okay. And definitely pilot tools like Part3's AI submittal log tool. You can create your own shop drawing list for free online at part3.io. Go on there, go to the resources, and you can try it out yourself and get, from uploading your specs, immediately get that. So really cool. But let's be real. Okay. Limitations and the ethics of AI. Okay. Garbage in, garbage out. The quality of training of the data matters. Okay. I've had arguments with people going, oh, AI is going to basically do all my details for me. Yes and no. It's very limited. I would argue, as of right now, absolutely not a chance. Your liability will be through the roof. But the reality is, if you set it and say, hey, create these details from this schematic, 3D picture I just gave you, would it start to cut all the sections of floor plans? Like, say if you did put some of the floor plans in there and you had that, and that last thing was doing was the wall section, the details. It's going to go online and look at all the details that are out there. It may pull a lot of residential details. It may pull a detail that was done, decades ago, and we've improved it because energy codes and building envelope details have improved in that sense, right? Like 2008 building code, we added apply extra layer strapping for the capillary to give that like I said, that air capillary for all our projects in British Columbia. That's where you're running into the AI. Is it going to be pulling up the right details? So the limitation, again, the garbage in, garbage out, what you're feeding it. And again, there's a lot of garbage out there. Hey, when I was building my YouTube, when I was building a deck, I went to YouTube, and oh my goodness, like every, I'm maybe out of the 10 videos that I watched just to reconfirming what I was doing right. Because again, it's one thing to draw it, but actually build it's a different thing. There was lots of good stuff. And then there was some I was just shaking my head going, what the heck are you doing? And that's what I'm talking about, the garbage in, garbage out, right? There is some junk out there. And if that's AI is pulling from that, referencing, hey, this is how you build a deck. No, you've still got to be intelligent. You still got to do your diligence and do your job. Okay. That types into like the risks of trusting some of this. And that's exactly a great segue is it's taking the context, the specs of this and saying, oh, this is how it is. You're trusting the data without checking it. That's an absolute no, right? You need to review this yourself as you are the one that went to school. You're the one that has all this experience. Do your due diligence, check it out, right? You're the driver here. Like I said, do your due diligence, end of story. Okay. And I think from this too, is you can't blame AI for making mistakes. Try telling that to your boss, right? Oh, AI, yeah, it didn't do the review properly and I submitted it and I sent it out and I reviewed that shop drawing. Well, it was totally wrong. You have to own this, right? So be careful of it. Don't crutch on it. Use it as a tool. Okay. It doesn't matter if it's a nailer or a hammer. It doesn't matter. You're the one that's using the tool. And if you can nail it wrong, that's your own fault. Okay. So own it and, use it to your advantage. Okay. Big one that keeps coming up is the intellectual property, the liability concerns. Okay. Lots of farms are starting to put AI policies in place. right? Whether you can use it or not, what they want to bring into it, who owns the data. These are all very valuable questions. So before you just jump on and start using this application, be careful, because is this data being trained and shared with all the other people that are using this? You're working on some federal jobs, you got to be really careful, right? And that's where you need to talk to your management team. And if they don't even know, it's a good conversation to have. Bring the lawyers in, talk about it, see where it is. There's going to be a lot of strict policies in place with it. And, as before you use any of the software that I've noted up here, again, my disclaimer is you got to do your due diligence, talk with your team. Are you even accepting this? Are you entertaining this? You do this on your own time for, in that sense, yeah, that's your own business. But in your public workspace, at your job, your work, be careful, right? Ask the right questions, find out, get those approval in writing. Because the last thing I want to see is you get all excited and jazzed from these AI tools, and then you lose your job because you had a policy in place and they said straight up zero tolerance, whatever the case is. So do your due diligence. That's the common theme, is do your due diligence here. Okay. And will AI really replace jobs or just tasks? I think the task is the key word here. Okay. Again, you're always in control, and tasks, yes, it's going to replace tasks 100%. So like this podcast, I run it through a number of programs, right? I record using Riverside, which is awesome. Immediately we're done hitting that submit. It does my show notes based on the show that I've had, because it's basically automatically transcribed everything. That's great when I upload it into my, podcasting hosting software that distributes to all you listeners in that respect. And then I even take those show notes and then I use it, running it through AI and blogs. I've already written the script and everything. I'm going to make a blog post out of it. Well, I've done all the work. I know what I'm talking about it. Let's see what AI comes up with. Again, it puts a couple of drafts together and I clean it up. But these tools are saving me 10, 20 hours each week just on this show alone. Think about all the other stuff. You become more efficient. And I think this goes back to the days when I was, when Revit came into place. It wasn't AI. But again, keep in mind, let's look at how that changed the industry, where we were doing everything in AutoCAD. If we had a high rise that we were drawing, we would probably need 10 people drawing that high rise to keep up with the demand of the schedule. Okay. Just because the sections and details and the work, it was AutoCAD. Everything had to be drawn by hand manually in that respect. When Revit came into the picture, that 10 staff got reduced to 2. We didn't lay off the staff. We just took on more work. And that is the kind of what I'm getting at about this, right? And these tools are allowing me. So tasks absolutely are being replaced. Anyone that works in as a transcriber for life and just kind of typing, like, your job is going to end at that point, right? Because AI is already there. You're doing a really good job. But, it doesn't mean you lose a job in a sense. It just means that you're going to start editing probably 100 versus 10 a week, because it's going to do it for you. And then you're going to quickly rip through and make sure that, hey, certain words are correct, because it is an official transcript and we got to make sure everything is. So that's where you're going to start to see it become that review tool. It's going to do 90% of the work and you're going to do the remaining 10 and ensure that it's proper and it's correct and it's accurate. Okay. But I think to these tasks and where AI separates you from it is the authenticity. Okay. Being authentic. And out of this podcast, I'm the one that's running the show. I'm doing it. Right. I'm putting it out here. It's authentic. It is real. Okay. Everything I've been telling you is my stories to you. Okay. AI doesn't have any stories. It hasn't been on the field. It hasn't swung a hammer. Okay. It needs me to deliver. So if I'm using some AI to help out with creating some of these shows and doing that respect, that's good. But I was the driver. And it's the same thing with design. You're the driver with this. You're the one that's inputting. You're the creative one. You're the one thinking. When you were born and drawing sketches, you were playing in the sand and the dirt when you're little. And then you grew up and you went to school and you came up with these beautiful sketches. And then you're doing it. And now you're using AI to help you out. You're the driver with this. And that's what I'm getting with this, is that it is a tool, right? You can build a house with a hammer or you can build it with a nailer. What is faster? We know. So use it. Be the orchestra. Drive this. That is what I'm getting at. But the authenticity, and it's all about your visions, right? You're the designer, graphic designers. AI is really taking that world, but for a spin, 100%. But again, take on more work. Be a better driver with it, right? Challenge it. Play with it. And still, when you go to the client, it's your vision. Yes, you're getting help from somewhere, but it's your vision. And I think that's what, we got to make that extremely clear in this industry. Hey, not taking jobs, it's taking tasks. Be more efficient with your time. Take on more. Work smarter. What I'm getting at. So, some fun little quotes to kind of challenge and kind of put on, as we come to close here. Can AI write a good RFI? Can AI replace the spec writer? Is AI going to give me the lowest construction cost? Will AI ever walk a site? Think about those. Replay them, right? Go back and replay it. Really think about that. Really start challenging it. Think about these things. And I think it's not only about the AI, but about the efficiencies that we just talked about. How can you be better? And we talked about this way back in the New Year's goals, kind of, as we took a break and we reflected for what was 2025. How are you doing with those goals? Stop, take a break and reflect. How can we be better? So wrapping this episode up, the question is, was this script written with AI? Will I tell? Not in this case, because the authenticity matters. I wanted to be authentic to you guys. Did I use it to help me kind of spur up a couple of conversations? What is these different tools? Yeah, I used it and I did some Googly searching, right? Just like anything. But again, it came from me, giving you that confidence. Okay. AI is amazing. And yes, it is a tool. Like I said, you've heard me saying you can build a house with a hammer, but you can build it a lot quicker with a nailer. And the same thing goes for AI. It's a tool. How will AI shape the next 5-10 years of construction administration? We're very interested in AI back in the 90s, right? Look at how things happened with, the Terminator, over 500 million at the box office alone, the third highest grossing film of 1991 worldwide. We are very interested in this. We've always been interested in seeing how this world evolves, okay? And you need to get into it. AI is a tool. It's not a replacement for the experiment, judgment, or the design thinking, okay? I encourage you to test out the new AI tools this week and share it on the show. And here's one quote: AI won't replace humans, but 3 humans with AI will replace 5 humans without AI. Think about it. Goes back to my Revit quote. 10 users needed to draw a high rise in AutoCAD, 2 users to draw a high rise in Revit. Think about that. Okay? How can we be more efficient? How can we work smarter, not harder? And I'm gonna leave it with this last quote before we wrap up the show. The unknown future rolls towards us. I face it for the first time with a sense of hope, because if a machine, a Terminator, can learn the value of a human life, maybe we can too. Sarah Connor. Last not but least, architects, keep designing. Contractors, keep making those blueprints a reality. We'll see you on the next one.